right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
A woman beaten, raped, and robbed in her Metro East home.
Very shocking. We were very shocked.
Tonight, neighbors react to the shocking crime that ended with the suspect in the hospital.
Our weekend storm system changes course. Why that means less rain for us and next to no chance of snow.
Our top story, terror and tragedy on yet another college campus.
We saw students running out in single file lines with their hands up, scared.
The latest deadly school shooting happening at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Now 3 people are dead and a 4th person is in critical condition after a deadly shooting on the UNLV campus. Police say the gunman responsible is also dead. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. The shooting happened just before noon in Las Vegas. At the time of the shooting, the school put out an alert urging students to shelter in place.
Police found the suspect dead, but say they have not identified a motive or if the gunman had any ties to the university. The threat to the Las Vegas community is over, but the investigation is just getting started. Denise Roche has the latest from Las Vegas.
Police are telling us tonight they do know the name of the suspect, but they are not releasing that information just yet until his next of kin are notified. We also learned that this shooting began on the 4th floor of Beam Hall on the campus of UNLV, moved to several other floors, and then ultimately ended up outside where it was 2 UNLV detectives who engaged the suspect and he was killed.
And if it hadn't been for the heroic actions of one of those police officers who responded, there could have been countless additional lives taken. Armed confrontation of the suspect by law enforcement stopped the suspect's further actions.
Unfortunately, 3 victims were also killed in this. A 4th person remains hospitalized here in Las Vegas. Tonight, the campus of UNLV will remain closed. We are told it should be closed at least through Friday as this investigation continues. In Las Vegas, I'm Denise Roche reporting.
President Biden released an official statement in response to both the shooting in Las Vegas and the string of shootings that happened in Texas. The president said he and the First Lady are praying for the families of the victims. In the statement, he also called on Congress to ban assault weapons and to enact a red flag law. The city of Las Vegas is also showing their support in the wake of today's shooting. The university is just blocks from the Vegas Strip, and tonight many buildings are showing signs of signs of support showing hashtag UNLV strong on their buildings.
Tonight, a man is in police custody accused of breaking into a Metro East home, then beating and sexually assaulting a woman before robbing her and taking off in her car. The victim, a woman in her 60s. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski talked with investigators and neighbors in Belleville. Laura?
Mike, neighbors tell me they're feeling very uneasy after this attack, and the scariest part is police believe this house was chosen at random. It really could have been anyone.
Belleville resident Tammy Clover says she woke up very suddenly Tuesday morning around 5:30 and had no idea why.
I woke up and I thought, why am I up? And couldn't go back to sleep.
Only to find out hours later about the horrible attack happening at that very hour, just a few doors down.
We were just sitting there and I was waiting for my daughter to come up from school, and we looked up and we just saw like cars all the way down. They were unmarked, and I'm like, what is going on?
Belleville police say around 5 a.m. Tuesday, a man broke into a 60-year-old woman's home on West A Street, and a neighbor found her roughly 10 hours later when they came by to check on her dog.
The victim reported that she was battered and sexually assaulted during this attack and was taken to the hospital for medical treatment.
Investigators say before leaving the victim's house, he stole some of her things, including her car. That car was later involved in a crash 2 hours northeast of Belleville and Shelby County.
The suspect was injured during that crash and transported to a hospital in Springfield, where Belleville detectives are currently with him.
They believe this attack was completely random, as they can't find any connections between the victim and the suspect. The victim lived alone.
This is kind of a worst nightmare type scenario for a victim, particularly a female victim of crime.
Clover says the whole neighborhood is in shock and are discussing putting up cameras and taking other security measures.
We were just talking today, and me and a neighbor, and she was like, I'm actually at the store right now where I'm buying something that where you can't see through my windows, or so changing different things and trying to make sure, we're all protected.
Police have not released the condition of the suspect who's still in the hospital or any details on charges. They also believe this man is connected to additional felony cases here in Missouri. Kelly.
All right, thank you, Laura. Tonight, police are looking for the gunman suspected in 2 deadly shootings in East St. Louis that happened just a block apart. Today, 5 on Your Side obtained surveillance video that shows the suspected gunman. Police identified the victims in yesterday's shootings as Danielle Braddix and Sanchez James. We talked with an East St. Louis council member who knew one of the victims, and he says police are working hard to keep the community safe.
One of the victims was a friend of mine. Went to school, graduated with him. It's just very, very unfortunate. We're trying to get as much manpower as we can possible to help patrol the streets to make sure everyone feels comfortable at home.
Anyone with information on the shootings is asked to contact Illinois State Police via email. We have that address in the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com.
Tonight, the 18-year-old man wanted for a deadly shooting in Maplewood is in police custody. Justin Vance is the suspected shooter in the October 26 shooting death of Teron Bales. He faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder. 2 juveniles were also arrested in the case. Investigators say the group tried to rob Vance near Yale and Manchester. Taking a live look downtown, it was a pleasant day in the bi-state, not as cold, and the next few days are expected to be even warmer. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is here with a look at how long those higher temperatures will be here.
You've got them for a couple of days here, Mike, as we're back above 60 degrees in many locations for tomorrow. But right now, around the area at this point, we are talking about mainly clear skies and cool temperatures. Here's a look at what's happening across the bi-state area as we've dropped back into the mid-40s around St. Louis. We're not dropping as fast tonight because we have that breeze turning out of the south. Changes to the forecast, well, it's not as cold overnight. Tomorrow is bright, breezy. It's even warm, some would say. Well, by December standards, let's face it, sure. Temperatures in the low to mid-60s. We're still warm into Friday above 60 degrees, but the showers arrive as we head into Friday night. They'll last into Saturday. But there are changes with this system. It's moving faster, and perhaps that limits our moisture. More on that in a few minutes, Kelly.
All right, Scott. New tonight, hopes on hold. That's what several mayors are saying when it comes to redevelopment in their communities. They're blaming the St. Louis County executive for putting a hold on a plan to clear blight and abandoned homes. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon is in Jennings with a closer look.
As the mayor, it's embarrassing when someone visits your city and they make a turn, they go down the street, they visit the neighbor, and then they see these properties.
It's why Jennings Mayor Gary Johnson is trying to do something. This year, the city created a vacancy task force to identify all of the abandoned properties in the city to either rehab them or tear them down.
When you tear it down, you see opportunity.
A government program makes that easier, allowing localities to purchase properties from St. Louis County at a major discount, cheaper than investors could purchase them. The abandoned properties have to be behind on tax payments. This year, Jennings applied to do this for some 90 properties. But during the process, Mayor Johnson learned
it was just suddenly halted. There was no explanation, anything.
Meaning he and other towns in North County can't take any action right now. I reached out to Executive Sam Page's office, a spokesperson saying, quote, North County deserves to have long neglected properties redeveloped. That's why we are doing an audit to ensure that these properties are being redeveloped and not sitting idle. Any municipality that has a redevelopment plan in place should submit them, and they will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Now this state rep is speaking out, saying the plan in Jennings shouldn't be interrupted.
It's a safety issue. We have children walking to school, and we have all these abandoned buildings.
The mayor says he has developers ready to go.
It's like a slap in the face. It's like someone coming in your house and telling you what to do. It's like someone coming to your house and pulling your electric panel off, switch off.
Brent Solomon, 5 on Your Side.
And a county spokesperson says the county is conducting an audit to determine how many properties are still sitting vacant after communities purchase them at the discounted rate. Mayor Johnson says new initiatives in Jennings are in place to prevent that from happening in the future.
St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore says he's officially running for a full term. Gore made the announcement just one day after delivering a report from his first 6 months in office. Missouri Governor Mike Parson appointed him after Kim Gardner's abrupt resignation. Gore says he has never considered a political office before, but the last few months of progress in the Circuit Attorney's office is motivating him.
Running for public office is not something that has ever been on my career to-do list, and that hasn't changed. But what has changed is the unique opportunity to serve.
Gore could face a primary challenge. Attorney David Mueller and former Alderman Mike Grah have expressed interest. Right now, it's not clear if Kim Gardner might run again.
A push tonight to save a program that helps track gun violence in St. Louis County. County Executive Sam Page's proposed budget calls for doing away with shot spotter technology. The County Council has put forward a counter-spending plan that will restore the $700,000 in funding. A vote on a full budget for the 2024 fiscal year is expected next Tuesday night. Crunch time on Capitol Hill. Tonight, aid for Israel in Ukraine in jeopardy. So is much-needed compensation for local victims of radioactive contamination. Helping employees achieve the American dream.
I have always wanted to own a home. It's life-changing.
The two local employers handing out paychecks and home down payments.
We were hoping for more of a widespread rain on Saturday. Now it looks more like splash and dash showers. We're breaking down all the changes to the weekend forecast from this weather system in the Pacific in just 7 minutes.
Tonight, with Congress heading into a holiday break next week, an aid package for Israel and Ukraine is in jeopardy. The Senate failed to pass the package today with a 49-51 vote. Republicans insist that funding needs to include U.S. border security policy changes. That's an issue Democrats say has room for compromise. Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt voted against the package, saying the border policies do not go far enough.
It's a total disaster. We shouldn't be bundling all these things together in the first place, but also it shows the lack of seriousness from Joe Biden and the Democrats on border. They're not serious about any border negotiations, so this thing's going to go down in flames, and it should.
It's also unclear if the House will pass the National Defense Authorization Act, even if the Senate reaches a deal.
As Congress fights on whether to include funding for Ukraine and Israel, an issue that hits closer to home appears to be on the line. Senators Josh Hawley and Eric Schmitt were part of a group to co-sponsor an updated version of the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. It was in the original NDAA and would provide compensation for victims of radioactive exposure in our area. The Senate passed it overwhelmingly in August, but the amendment was not included in the House's version. Senator Hawley released a statement today claiming that RECA had been stripped from the defense bill. He says, in part, quote, he will vote against the bill that betrays the commitment the nation made to nuclear test victims and do everything in his power to stop it. And Senator Schmitt also responding, saying in part, quote, that he worked extremely hard to try to get the amendment into the final version and says he's actively looking into further legislation to make sure victims get the compensation they deserve, end quote. Time is running out to pass the funding. Senators leave for the holidays late next week.
Today, the Biden administration announced the cancellation of more student loan debt. The Department of Education says it will cancel an extra $5 billion. President Biden says the money would help teachers, members of the military, nurses, and other public service workers. The Supreme Court struck down the president's original student loan forgiveness plan, but the administration has continued to find other ways to provide debt relief.
Buying a house these days is the hardest it's been since the mid-1980s, according to a recent Wells Fargo report.
But two of the largest employers in St. Louis are trying to help their workers live where they work. And as Michelle Lee reports, it's paying off for people trying to make ends meet.
I've been in my house almost 5 years now.
Chelsea Clayton's the first person in her immediate family to own a home, and she did it thanks to her employer, BJC.
So it is an amazing program. I have always wanted to own a home, and one of my friends was like, well, you know, the hospital has a program where they will help you pay the deposit down on your home and make the whole process super easy for you. And I was like, what? So I looked into it, and that's exactly what it was.
The program has been around since the late 90s by BJC Healthcare and Washington University. It gives eligible workers thousands of dollars to buy a home near their workplace, and now that program is expanding.
But you can see all of this is the expansion. So we've expanded to...
All of this green is the
All
expansion.
of this green, yes, here is the expansion.
22 new zip codes have been added to the program, and more money is going out. Each loan gets a $4,000 increase from years past.
It's life-changing. It might allow them the opportunity to purchase a home that they might not otherwise have had. You can put up to $12,500 towards your closing costs or your down payment, and as long as you stay in that home for at least 5 years, remain an eligible BJC or Washington employee for 5 years as well, your loan will be forgiving.
So I actually just did this work.
For Chelsea, it was a no-brainer, not just for her, but for her 8-year-old son, James, who will always now have a place to call home.
And that was my goal. That's what I've always wanted, to have something where he always has a place to live.
What advice would you give for someone who is going to see this story and might be struggling to make ends meet?
I would say, take it from me, it's not something where everybody can just buy a home. This program allows everyone to be able to buy a home. If I can do it for me and my son, everyone can do it.
For Making Ends Meet, Michelle Lee, 5 on your side.
And Michelle reports so far the program has helped more than 400 people who work at BJC in Wash U.
Iconic television producer, writer, and director Norman Lear has died. He was known for shows like All in the Family and The Jeffersons. He won 6 Primetime Emmy Awards over his lengthy career. Lear says he wrote from inspiration in his own life, including basing the character of Archie Bunker partly because of his father. Norman Lear was 101 years old. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell's here with the Weather First forecast. It's going to be a little warmer coming up.
Yeah, temperatures like the Jeffersons are moving on up. All right, we're talking temperatures tomorrow that are going to climb back into the 60s. By the way, that Southwest flight just landed about 25 seconds ago, coming out of Phoenix. So the folks from Phoenix now in for a little bit of a shock as it's much cooler here. There's another one coming up the taxiway from Baltimore that just landed out there at the airport. And everything seems to be on time. That's good. Temperatures in the 30s in some of the outlying areas, especially going east of St. Louis, lower 40s in St. Louis. Temperatures, though, tomorrow will jump. We were right at 50 for the high today, 35 our low. The averages for this time of year, 47 and 31. Tomorrow, we're thinking 63, 64. It's only 44 degrees right now. Temperatures not dropping as fast tonight because of that south wind. And tomorrow, bright skies most of the day, a few clouds later in the afternoon, and look for temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Yes, the breeze will be there, but unseasonably warm air is on the way. Now here's the lowdown for this weekend. We still have some unsettled weather coming. We're still tracking these systems out west coming in from the Pacific into the West Coast. Still pretty good jet stream out here. And all of these disturbances are lining up to provide active weather. Right now, it's really moving inland through the northern tier and across the Pacific Northwest. Eventually, we see that slide here into the middle part of the country. Storm system, it's tracking faster. It's also tracking farther to the west and northwest of us. Those two things tend to lead to less rainfall for us and also will bring about an end to the rainfall sooner for us. So as we go into Saturday afternoon, most of the rain will be shifting south and east of St. Louis. Most of us probably aren't going to get a lot of rainfall. So what's changed with this forecast? It's moving faster. So that faster system movement limits the thunder, or on the backside of this in the cooler air, snow chances. Less rain will fall, much lower totals. Many of us probably don't even get a quarter of an inch out of this scenario as it plays out. So here's your forecast for the next 10 days. And as we look at this, you're looking at a couple of really warm days here, tomorrow and Friday. Hanukkah begins tomorrow at sundown. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s, still in the upper 50s as the sun goes down. Now, Friday night into Saturday, it's scattered showers. It's not going to be like a lot of rain. You're going to see hit and miss, splash and dash, and then they're gone. And by Saturday afternoon into Sunday, we're drying out. Temperatures on Sunday should only be in the lower 40s. And look at the rainfall tallies out of this. Your heaviest rain now, well south and east of St. Louis. Again, most of us probably don't even get 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of rain at most out of this scenario. And then next week's pretty quiet again.
I wonder how many people in our audience will get your Jefferson's reference.
Well, you know, it was
moving on. That was very good. Frank Cusimano's too young to remember that show, right, Frank?
Oh,
as
he was
we continue our
it.
tribute to Norman Lear, it was all in the family for the Cardinals today as Yachty returns. The Cody Schrader legend continues to grow, and the Blues are playing a thriller against the Stanley Cup champs.
And a reminder about our Little Wishes campaign. This holiday season, 5 on Your Side is teaming up with the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition again to provide gifts to area kids impacted by foster care. We still have about 1,600 Little Wishes to grant by December 20th, and you can go to ksdk.com/Little Wishes to buy a gift.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
The Blues never got to 4 games over 500 last year. And when the task was back-to-back games against the Stanley Cup champions, not many thought they would see that goal this week. They had a heck of a first period, and they are trying tonight. We profiled Jake Neighbors at 6:20, and at 7:20, he scores his team-leading 10th goal of the season. That's Channel 5 mojo, folks. And this is really pretty. Torrey Krug, Kevin Hayes with this one-touch goal, and the Blues led it 2-1. We profiled Jordan Kyrou at 5, and guess what he's about to happen here? How about that? Boy, he has mad skills. 3-1 Blues, but the champions responded with 4 goals, this one by Keegan Colasar, and Vegas leads it right now 5-3 in the third period. Not even a bottle of melatonin could give Travis Ford of the Billikens a good night's sleep. So if you didn't think it could get worse than the 39-point beatdown at Carbondale, try blowing a 19-point lead at Drake. Now, the Billikens did come out flying. Jimerson between the legs, and to step back, he had 23 points. Then Tim Dalger will get the 3-point play to open up the second half. The Billikens led by 19. But down the stretch, SLU could do nothing right, and Drake could do nothing wrong. Drake escapes with a 75-69 victory. This could be a long winter. Rebecca Tillett and the SLU women hosting Southern Indiana tonight. Brooklyn Gray with the running hook right there. Later, Julia Martinez with the 3-pointer. SLU wins this one, 89-53. Why are we showing you the Iowa versus Iowa State women's game? Because Caitlin Clark is the best show in college basketball, male or female. Tonight she went nuts with 35 points. And right here, Caitlin became the 15th woman to get to 3,000 points in her career. She has a great chance to become the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball. Iowa wins 67-58. So Cardinal fans wanted something to happen in Nashville at the winter meetings. A number 2 starter, a closer, an outfielder who can hit. Nope. Instead, they did something that fans may also like. They're bringing back Yadier Molina, not to play, coach, or manage. He is now the special assistant to the president. Yadier was never going to be an everyday coach. Long hours for not incredible pay and a long way away from his family was not in the cards, literally. But this way, the organization can tap on his keen baseball mind. Could it lead to another position one day with the Cardinals? Stay tuned. The celebration of Cody Schrader's special season continues. Today, the pride of Lutheran South was named first team All-American by CBS and by USA Today. When you lead the country in rushing yards per game, you deserve it. Luther Burden, Chris Abrams-Drain, and Javon Foster made the second team. Let's head to Lutheran St. Charles for a little high school basketball. Bob McCormick and Priory against Chris Pitts and Whitfield, and Priory on the fast break gives the bucket to Henry Hibby right there. Whitfield too much though. Dylan Players goes baseline for the reverse. Whitfield wins 75-54. And that will do it in sports.
All right.
Thanks, Frank. Well, the year of Taylor Swift, the honor tonight for the pop superstar, and we're in St. Louis. You can celebrate all things Swiftie next week.
A popular late night food spot is expanding. Up Late in South City just announced a second location, and the Del Mar Loop, the current eatery on Van de Venner, operates from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. The new location is expected to open in the spring.
Taylor Swift is Time's Person of the Year for 2023. The singer-songwriter has had a busy year, from her Eras tour to the release of 2 re-recorded albums. She beat out 8 other finalists, including St. Louis native and ChatGPT founder Sam Altman.
And speaking of Taylor Swift, to celebrate her birthday, the St. Louis Public Library is hosting TaylorCon 1 week from today. The event at the Central Library takes place December 13th from noon until 7:30. It's going to feature a dance party and Q&A and a trivia game. And bad news, Taylor will not be there.
She'll probably be on her way to the Chiefs game.
Probably.
There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show's next.